Macro photography, the photograph taking of small things to make them look bigger. It's good fun this time of year, especially when the mushrooms are up. But there is one thing, just let me sort this out. Focus. It can be a bit of a pain in the backside. Now, this focus problem with macro photography is certainly no different to every other kind of photography. You have a couple of choices to make. Which aperture you're going to use, how much depth of field that is going to give you, where you're going to focus, and how does the light interact with all of this? But with macro photography, it's just so much more exaggerated. Let me explain. Nestled deep in the depths of this log, there is a singular mushroom. I'm pointing at it right now. And the problem you have with the camera is how much depth of field do you throw on this thing? How much of it do you get in focus? And you set the camera up, you choose your fastest aperture because it's f2.8 and it's nice and fast. And well, you end up with a photograph that looks like this. Okay, so that was shot at f2.8. As wide as this macro lens will go, but the depth of field is just so incredibly shallow. And unless you're Marcus from Photography Online, ain't nobody want a depth of field that shallow. So how do you address that with macro photography? Well, you can always, let's stop the lens now, let's go f11. Everybody likes a good old f11, don't they? But you can see down here, this is going to give us a 2-second photograph. Let's try it anyway and see what the difference f2.8 to f11 makes on this little mushroom in the log. Alright, so that wasn't bad, it was better, there was more depth of field in there. But that 2-second exposure, it leaves you vulnerable to things like camera shake and wind, especially at this time of year. But there must be a better way of doing it. There must be an easier way of doing it. And we're using micro four thirds. The omsystem OM5 Mark II and the 60mm f2.8 macro lens. There must be a feature in this camera that makes macro photography just that little bit easier. And well, fortunately there is a way of making this a little bit easier. It's called focus stacking. Now, it's by no means an original concept, but the fact that this camera does it in camera for you, and you keep the raw file as well as the JPEG so you can see if your stack was successful. That is what makes this combination absolutely killer for macro photography at this time of year. So let's turn the focus stacking on and see what difference that makes. So for this one, I've set the camera to f5.6, which is my go-to micro four thirds aperture. Now, you have a couple of different options with the focus stacking. You have the number of shots to be taken, which by default and maximum on this camera is 8. I've dialed that down to 5 because I want the focusing just to be on the mushroom. I don't want the entire scene to be in focus. I still want a little bit of separation from the background. And I think 5 should give us just enough coverage over the mushroom. And the other option is you have the focus differential, which is how much the camera is going to shift the focus forwards and backwards from your focus point, and that's what's going to give you the larger depth of field. So with them two things set in, we're going to focus right on the tip of the little mushroom, and here we go. Let's take this photograph and let's see what difference a focus stacked image looks like as compared to the first two. But we're not just limited to shooting across things. This will work with a top-down perspective as well. So you can probably see where the little orange light is on there and the camera's angled down. We're going to take a top-down view of a little cluster of mushrooms, a little golden leaf that I think looks really fun. And the key to this one, I think, is going to be the lighting position. I carry a little LED light around with me. I have it on a Manfrotto Pixie tripod, so I can use it on a tripod, or I can take it off and position it in different spots where I want the lighting. But for macro photography, I find carrying little lights is always a little bonus. And you can manipulate the light in the way that you see fit. Instead of waiting on nature, you can throw the lighting however you want it. So let's go ahead and take this photograph then. I've got the little LED light set up in a spot where it's just shining some light across it. It's a little bit of light and shadow play. Got the camera in a top-down perspective. Just something a little bit different. I quite liked the way they all look like little discs with a little golden leaf in front of it. So we're at f5.6, a fifth of a second, ISO 200. And for this one, we're going to take 8 photographs in the focus stack. I'm going to focus right on the mushroom and let the camera do its thing. Here's this photograph. Okay, so how do I actually do these focus stacks with the macro photography? Now, yes, the camera does output a JPEG file, and you can see if your stack was successful on the back of the camera. But it is a JPEG file, and it comes with the limitations that JPEG files come with when it comes to editing. So I keep the raw files, and I use a plugin on Adobe Lightroom called Luminate Neo. It's quite a simple little interface. You just drop and drag through everything on there that you want to do the focus stack, and a few seconds later it's all done for you. That outputs a TIFF file, which is somewhat more friendly towards editing, but I find editing the individual raw files and just copying and pasting across all of the settings, that tends to work best for me. So yes, the camera does give you a JPEG file if you are into that, but it also keeps the raw files as well, so you can edit them and stack them by yourself on the computer when you get home. So if this camera and lens combination is something that you'd be interested in using yourself, I'll put a link in the description where you can pick them both up from. And I believe at the moment there is a little bit of a cashback sale on as well, which is always a good thing. You get a little bit of money back. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed the video and found it useful, please do give it a like and a thumbs up. It does help to bring new viewers to see my content. And if you're new here, see me for the first time, you can always hit that subscribe button down below and you'll see more micro four thirds nonsense from me every single week. So until the next time, I guess it's just time to say I'm going to love you and leave you and say peace and goodbye.